This is gonna be a tactical approach to preparing your pipeline for August 17th. Now, if you're watching this when I'm filming this week, you're seeing it just a couple days before it goes live. But if you're watching this after the fact and something has already changed, these principles will still apply. So this is how you can go back and any major change in the marketplace. This is a framework that we apply to all of our leads in order to re-engage conversations and prepare our clients. But I'm gonna be talking specifically about the changes to buyer agency and how buying and selling is changing for consumers that starts on August 17th. So this is something you're gonna be able to implement in your business today, even if you don't have all the resources that you might think that you need. So let's dive in right away. I have a 3-step process that is very simple for you to follow and a couple of pro tips. And the first pro tip is that you wanna be the person to tell your people, your leads, you might be calling them clients, but realize that a client's somebody that signed a contract. You wanna be the person that is telling your leads and your database and your people and your clients about the changes. You do not want them walking into an open house on Saturday and getting educated by another real estate agent. They're gonna think, gosh, why didn't Christian tell me that? This guy's telling me all this information, or this gal's telling me all this information. My agent hasn't even told me what's going on. I'm having to sign different paperwork. You know what? If that person, maybe they don't know what's going on. Maybe Christian doesn't know what's going on. You do not want your clients or your leads thinking that about you. Get ahead of this. This is something we've been doing on our team for months, preparing our entire database for this change. Now, if you need to do this with your database now, it isn't too late, but you wanna make sure you're the one to do it. All right, now here's a simple 3-step process. I'm gonna go one by one through these. Number one, first and foremost, is send the most recent market update to your entire database of leads. Now, if you don't already do this for your clients, number one, highly recommend, this is pro tip number 2, is we do a weekly newsletter for our consumers. If you wanna see what that's all about, you can just go register at ocmarketupdates.com. You can see how we talk to the leads inside of our database. But my point here is the number one most popular newsletter that we do is the monthly market update. As boring it is for me to make pretty much the same exact content every single month and just change the numbers in the story, it is the email that performs the best. And when I say email, it's also the social media that performs the best. It's also the blog post that performs the best. This is what people actually care about. And it's the question everybody asks us, how's the market? So I'm gonna go back to step number 1 in this process is send the most recent market update. Now, in the description below, I'm gonna put a link to our most recent market update. So if you don't have one, if your team or broker does not supply one for you, you should probably make sure that happens next month. But you can just use ours. If you're in the Southern California market, you can just copy and paste it. This is for Orange County, the numbers that we use. Again, that's gonna be in the description down below. Put something out to your database that's accurate, talking about what's going on in the market right now. Now, inside this market update, what I would highly recommend doing is talking about the changes. Realistically, you're not gonna get on the phone with every single lead in your database, but you can hit every single person with an email. Now, again, not everybody gets it, not everybody opens it, and certainly not everybody reads it, but the people who are interested in the changes are gonna be the ones that are most engaged. And then you move on to step number 2. So let's recap step 1 before we move on. You're gonna send the most recent market update to your entire database. If you don't already have one, I'd recommend putting them together. Here's a quick framework for how I do market updates. I talk about the new listings that came to the market in the previous month. I talk about total active listings, meaning inventory available. I talk about days on market, how fast homes are selling. Talk about closed sales, how many closed sales actually happened. And then the interest rates and prices are the last couple of things we talk about. You can just follow this simple framework in month over month over month. It really helps you build the narrative and keep your clients educated. So anyway, that's number 1 is send that market update to your clients. And then I would also include your explanation of the changes. I boiled it down to 2 different bullet points that you can go ahead and steal as well too. The first bullet point is buyers have to sign an agreement with an agent in order to have that agent show them properties. And let me inverse that, a real estate agent has to have an agreement signed with the buyer before touring a property. That is fact number 1. Fact number 2 is sellers are no longer to advertise in the MLS that they are paying a buyer's agent commission. Those are really the 2 changes that have happened for a consumer. I understand on the agent side, there's a lot more changes. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole now, but for a consumer, those are really the only 2 changes. All right, so now you have step number 1, you understand that, ready to go. Let's move on to step number 2. Step number 2 is incredibly simple, but if it sounds like work, it's because it is. So you've sent your email to your entire database. Now, depending on the size of your database, I'll give you a different idea of how to do it, but you are going to call and text every single lead in your entire database. If you have a huge database of tens of thousands of leads like we do, this is gonna be almost impossible. So if you have a small database, I'll explain that first, and I'll explain a large database, what we're doing, in a second. So the small database, you should be able to call and text everybody. If you have less than 200-300 leads in your database, you should be calling and texting everybody personally. Now here's the easiest script in the world that you're gonna use. This is for big or small databases. I'm gonna call, I'm gonna say, hey John, this is Christian over at First Team Real Estate. I just sent you an email with something I thought you'd find interesting. Did you get it? This is the easiest script in the entire world. You can use this. Also, maybe pro tip number 3, I don't think I included in the newsletter this week, is if you send a monthly market update or if you send a weekly newsletter like we do, I can always use that script and it's always valid because I just sent somebody an email last Friday. Anyway, so, hey John, this is Christian with First Team Real Estate. The reason I'm calling is because I sent you an email that I thought you might find interesting. I was just curious, did you get it? They can respond in one of 2 ways. Yes, I got it. I would say, great, what did you think? And they can say, no, I didn't get it. And then I have an ability to problem solve. Oh shoot, maybe it's your spam folder, but let me make sure I got your right email. Maybe you have their burner email that they don't want to check. So if you get a no, problem solve. Say, hey, let me make sure I have your best email. Will you text it to me right now? And then resend the email to them. Pro tip, again, if you have a CRM that shows you if they've opened and clicked on it, that's where we're gonna move into the big database as well too. But then you know if they got it or not, and you can just reply, hey, just bumping this up to the top of your inbox. But the conversation's easy. You just say, hey, I sent you an email about the market update and changes to buying and selling real estate. What did you think? Like, here's what's going on. That's the conversation. It's super simple. So your script is the did you get it script, and then it goes into a yes or no. Yes is what did you think? No is let me problem solve, and then hey, here's what the email was about. Now what do you think? All right, so that's if a small database, and small meaning like if you have 200 or 300 leads, you should be able to call, text, and then you've already emailed all of them within the span of about 2 weeks. It's gonna take a lot of time because you're probably gonna be having a lot of conversations, setting a lot of appointments, and doing deals, which is the entire point of why we do all of this, but it's incredibly important. Now, let's move on to if you have a huge database, this is what we're doing. So we send out a weekly newsletter to our entire database, and it is only about what is the most important thing going on in the business right now, which you figured this is it. I'm also building a resource library for our agents. So we're talking about the 2 different types of buyer agreements that we have. We're talking about the changes and different things that we can continuously send to the database. This is all via email or bulk email or newsletter type campaigns. Now, when we have 65,000 leads in a database, this is one, incredibly time consuming, and calling everybody would take forever. So what you can do is when you send that bulk email, again, assuming you have some sort of a CRM that tracks this stuff, I hope you do, but if you don't, might be time to get one. Number one thing is we can now call based on the people who have actually opened that email. So I can go inside of our CRM and I can sort by most recent email activity. So of those 65,000 people, I can just call the people that opened the email today. And then tomorrow I can call the people that opened it 2 days ago. Or if you have so much activity from your email, God forbid, you could call the people that just clicked on the links inside of your email. This is a way to take a massive database and go after the low-hanging fruit first. Now, here's the magic again, is if you send another valuable newsletter next week, you follow the same process, you're gonna be taking people out of the database and moving them into clients you've already had this conversation with. So you're not having the same one, you're more so following up. I hope that makes sense, but the 2 easiest ways, small database, is you're going to call and text everybody. Now, if you're asking what I should be texting, this is very simple, and this is something we say with our team all the time, is you have to ask questions that require a response. So don't send a text message that sounds like this. Hey John, this is Christian with First Team Real Estate. I just sent you the most recent market update, and I talked about the changes that are going on in the marketplace. Don't send an email like that, or don't send a text message like that. What you want to do instead is, hey John, this is Christian over at First Team. I just sent you an email, ... return. Did you get it? So the question that I'm asking is, did you get it? They're going to respond with yes or no, and you follow the same framework as we did on the phone call. That's very simple as well too. If you are struggling with having conversations and setting appointments, or you're having problems with the appointments that you've set, meeting them and setting next steps to lead to a contract, or if you're struggling with getting a buyer agreement signed with your clients, I have 3 different trainings that are well over 3 hours of video content like this, going through the exact process that we have implemented in our team that has done hundreds of millions in sales volume, over 500 million since 2020. These processes work, these trainings work, and this is exactly what my team has access to. And all of these trainings are totally free for you inside of the Start to Finish in Real Estate community on the Platform School. So if you want to go to onyxhomes.com/school, you can go ahead and register and join the free community, and I'll see you inside. Okay, now let's move on to step number 3, which is the actual conversation itself. Step number 3 is going to be explaining what the changes are. So I have in our bullet point that I send out in our newsletter to our consumers, this is the major update, and I say this is going to affect you. I'll put the blurb on the screen here, but there are some major impacts that are going to affect you. Number 1 is buyers have to sign an agreement with an agent prior to touring property. Number 2, sellers are no longer able to advertise in the MLS that they are willing to pay a buyer's agent commission. Those are the 2 changes for a consumer, so you just need to explain that in your words, in your way, whatever your story is to your clients. So my advice is get very crystal clear on the process of how you're going to handle these. If you want to watch that, I have a different video on that coming out, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments down below what other topics you'd like to hear from us, and I'd be happy to make those videos. All right, again, my name is Christian with Onyx Homes. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.